Hello lovely friends, here's a sneak peek of today's Bloom Swipe acrylic wall painting. Thank you so much to all of my subscribers. Your support and love really does help keep this channel going. Thank you so much. So today, as I do my nature inspired piece, I've got a Bloom Swipe and I've got the sunset over the sea, and some of you might see mountains over the sea. And I'm using a cell activator. I'm using the Shelley Art UK recipe. It's a recent recipe and it's something I've been experimenting with. And I do something a little bit unusual later on, in that I swipe part of it with a cell activator and I swipe part of it with a colour, so that I get a different effect of a sunset with no cells in it, and the sea with some foamy, beautiful cells. So first of all, we've got these colours. I've got some beautiful colours today. Some really sort of bronzy blue iridescence of the sky, and then some just really simple blues for the sea. And we've got our trusty cell activator. So without much ado, let's get started. Now all the paints are the right consistency. I do a drip test before I use my paints, and I just noticed with this one that the gold could do with a little bit more water. So I added the water there and all the paints were ready to go. That's the sort of consistency I'm looking for today. So first of all, I'm going to put my pillow paint down, and it's called the pillow paint, so the rest of the paints can glide on top of it like a pillow. So I've got my very nicely thick pillow paint, and if you're in the UK, most of the pillow paints do need watering down, so I watered down my pillow paint by 10% or so, just until you get the consistency that you're looking for. And it's about experimenting and finding out how things work together. When I first started out blooming, and still right now, I'm just still experimenting, working out what works and how thick each of the layers should be and what happens with the layering and colours. The bloom technique is an extremely technical technique, and the originator Shelley Art worked tirelessly to bring this together, and Louise McKay Art has got some fantastic videos up recently showing her blooms. So please check out their channels, Shelley Art and Louise McKay Art. I'll put their links in the description below. So we've got these two lovely blues that are going down first of all, and this is going to be the part of the coaster in this functional art piece where I want to make a bit of a sea and a bit of frothiness with the white. So I'm just layering now my blue-green on top. That iridescent look really does pop towards the end, and it really does show its shimmer. I do like having a bit of shimmer when I do the sea. It really does make it stand out and glow, just as the sun sparkles on the sea. So that pink was the first layer of the sunset, and then I've got my second layer of the gold, and I want gold to be all the way through the sunset and the sea. I'd love to know if you see mountains in this piece or whether you see a sunset. I'm actually thinking, because I've got two coasters today, one looks a bit more like a mountain and one looks more like a sunset to me. This is a lovely pair of coasters that I've got, and I'm keeping these at home, hoping to resin them soon as well. So what I'm doing for the bottom part, which ends up being the sunset, all the mountains, is I'm swiping with bronze, and it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with this swipe, as immediately I can notice once I've swiped it there are no cells here, and that's what I wanted. But in this other section, the sea, I really do want cells, so I'm using my classical cell activator, and again it's a Shelley Art cell activator. I do recommend her course. Yeah, it's a wonderful course if you want to be a part of the group as well and get some lovely tutorials from Shelley herself and support from the group. So you can see where I've done the swipe with bronze, and I've done a bit of a swipe just on top of the bronze because I'd like that to have a tiny bit of cell activation just above where the mountains are. Can you see the cells coming through already? So what I'm doing at this stage is I'm just lining the rest of the coaster with some pillow paint. Not too much, doesn't need too much, especially on these coasters. It's quite fine work, and I'm going really slowly so I can cover just enough, because I'll be tilting this and I'll also be spinning it to try and get some of the paint off, and to also to stretch the paint. And part of the activation of the cells is when you use heat, so I'm using a heat gun as well in order to activate and to get rid of some of the bubbles. I don't use it too much though, and I have my heat gun on fairly low setting, but it does focus on the bubbles. And I also use a cocktail stick to pop bubbles. It depends on your climate, it depends on the temperature and where you are in the world. Sometimes you can't do any at all because it's so hot and it forms the skin so quickly. But I'm finding this time of year in the UK, it's just coming into autumn, and I can use the heat gun a little bit if I have the paint just kept overnight and no real longer than that. So I'm going to pick it up now and tilt it to get the desired pattern. Like the cells are stretching out really nicely. Can you see where the sea is going to be? And can you see where the sunset is going to be? That bronze is a beautiful colour to use in a sunset, and I haven't actually used bronze before. I normally use gold, orange and red, but I'm using pink because I would like a sort of far away look, and that's why at some point I thought they would look like mountains in the background. So I'd be interested to know what you think about using the bronze rather than those other colours. And also depends on the time of day, it could be, and the time of year, and depends on the weather as to what the lighting's like. So I'm just going to leave you now while I carry on tilting and show you this coaster close up, and then I'm going to do another one and come back and show you as I'm finishing that one how I did that one differently. So this time I'm layering them very slightly differently, and I'm literally learning from the first one how much I would like with the sunset and how much I'd like with the sea. And I wanted a little bit more gold and a little bit less bronze on this one to see how that turned out. And I wanted to add a bit more silver and a thicker strip of silver down the bottom. So when you've got gold and silver together, it gives this beautiful iridescence and very different light, as if the sun is hitting the sea from different angles and just making it pop and come alive somehow. So here's my bronze swipe once more, and I'm doing it over that whole section there, and I can see already it's blended very slightly differently. It just shows the same colour palette, a different amount of paint, and a slightly different layering has a slightly different effect. So I'd love to know which one you prefer out of these. So I'm going to do a couple more swipes into the sea. Just enjoy the process as you watch the cells appear and as I tilt. And I'll come towards the end and ask you a few questions and leave you with a few ponderings today. So, have you been pondering about these two? What do you think about this one compared to the other one? For me, For me, it feels more like a mountainous feeling over the sea, whereas the other one looked more of a sunset to me. And I think it's because of the extra silver and how that can appear grey and how that shadowing can appear in the mountains. And also the shape is slightly different. Isn't it interesting? Same colours, very similar layering, slightly different tilting, different amount of paint, and it's a slightly different effect. So I want to say to you, thank you so much for being here. I love to know your thoughts. I love to hear your colour schemes. I've got some paintings coming up very soon that are going to be for certain people that have asked for them. And it's just such a joy just developing and playing with different palettes and different colours. So if you've enjoyed this video today, thank you so much for being on this journey with me. It really does mean the world when you engage, comment, say what's going on for you, share your art, follow me on social media, and if you feel inspired, mention me. I love to mention people when I feel inspired, and I just want to thank you for being here. Thank you for being you. Don't forget your art is a piece of you. It's so very precious. Keep creating, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye.